Greetings and welcome to another captivating episode of Balkan Beginnings. Today we are honored to introduce to you our special guest, Peter Mitchell, a man whose story is a living testament to the American dream. As the son of Greek immigrants, Peter has embarked on a remarkable journey, one that has taken him from running a successful political consulting firm to founding multiple thriving companies. His journey is a thrilling narrative of ambition, resilience, and extraordinary achievement, and we're thrilled to have him join us today. Get ready to be inspired as we delve into the essence of the American dream with our guest, Peter Mitchell, right here on Balkan Beginnings. Welcome to the show, Balkan Beginnings. We have our very first guest on episode one, Peter Mitchell, a native Californian who had his parents immigrate over from Greece. Hi, Peter. Welcome.
Hi, Matt. Nice to be here.
So, kind of tell me about how, obviously, this podcast is Balkan Beginning. So, what is your Balkan beginning, and how you having being raised in a Greek household helped influence your mindset and mold you who you are today?
Sure. Matt, being ethnically diverse and rich means everything. America is the great democratic experience and melting pot. Unless you're Native American, indigenous, you came
Right.
here and immigrated here.
Awesome. Awesome.
And my family, it's a classic story. I think you're going to get tired of hearing over and over again. My parents came here for a better life. They escaped World War II. My dad came over here and went almost immediately into the service. He was separated from his family. My mother and her family came after, and they were on opposite ends of the country, but found each other. Our culture and heritage means everything because I love America.
Right. Right. That's great. So, kind of tell me about. So today you are a political consultant, correct?
I am. Two of my companies and my passion for almost 40 years has been a political consultant, strategist, advisor, etc. I try to make things better.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me what made you pursue that, growing up as a teenager, and kind of just how you got into that whole thing.
Matt, I can tell you, I had no idea. I was a poli sci major in college, and I thought I was going to go to law school. And I loved meeting people. I loved networking. But I really found in politics, you can work on the policy side and work in a government office, whether it's city, county, state, federal, or you can work on the campaign side, right, where the
Right.
person wants to be an elected official. And with me, I just love meeting people. I love solving problems. Again, I love serving people. I love people would call up, I don't know where to get this done. I don't know, I'm hurting or struggling. And so it's very empowering to be able to get something done because government can be really big and really unfriendly to people that just don't know,
100%.
especially
Yeah.
immigrants, you know?
Yeah. Right. So tell me about when you were going to college, out of college, how did you start your consulting firm, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, in politics, you start, and you take this wherever you want. I mean, you start as a flunky. You lick stamps, do internships. The best internships are free. And, I worked on the policy, the government side in the state senate as an intern. I worked on the candidate side, and I loved everything about it. And my family was going through some really hard times, both financially and physically, mentally. And one of my parents was much older than the other. And so I just was like, I have no idea what to do. So I always try to mentor people and I try to give them hope. If you like service, it's a noble profession. But then after so long on doing it, you build up a confidence and you're like, hey, I can do this for someone. To me, I always approach it from my parents' ethnic background. If you work hard and you do a good, honest, ethical, good thing, then you can make a living. And
right.
so then one thing left to another. I did a long time in government, and then I worked for trade associations, for unions, and other things. And I'm one of the few. I had a Democrat and Republican type mom and dad on issues. They were not
The
about.
exact same. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there you go. I mean, it wasn't about party. It was about country and family first because they were so appreciative to come here with not a dime in their pocket and for America to open their arms and embrace them. And my parents took a long time, one of them, to get here. You had to get on a list and they, went to night school. You had to learn English. The other parent, had another parent who was an American citizen, dual citizen. So they came in quicker. but it was hard for them to get in here, and they were so appreciative. And we just always learned to love America, and we learned to just keep trying. And then after working in union and trade association, nonpartisan, no matter what party you were from, when the member came in or the candidate, we stood up. We were yes, ma'am, or sir. We were very polite. And then finally, somebody pushed me off the edge and said, "You've been doing this too long. You need to start your own firm." So in 2002, I started it, and it was a scary thing, but I was like, "Hey, I still can probably eat if I can just make the same salary I had. I can get by." And then away we go. You know.
Cool, cool. Tell me about once you started that firm. I'm aware that you've also started to venture out and do other companies as well, right, in the future as time
Yeah,
went by.
yeah, and this is one thing we mentor people and encourage them. And you and your generation are so much smarter than we are. It's amazing when I
I'm not
see.
sure about that one, but
I do. I see great, huge potential, and with technology and the advancement of mankind, right? Mankind, just look at the stats, didn't live quite
right,
so long, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And
right,
I say mankind, non-gender specific, just with a small m. But now human beings are just living longer, and they're, more intelligent, more loving. Our best days are yet to come. There's a lot of shrillness in the country. There's a lot of divide. A few of us that are well trained, we love everyone, and we look for the one thing out of 10 that's good, not the nine things in 10 you have to agree with. And so the skills about do more writing, do more public speaking, get up early, do two or three jobs, save a certain percentage of your money, invest it, do smart, good habits, that compound over 10, 20, 30 years. And then one day I looked up and I'm like, wow, I know a few more people than I ever thought I would. And wow, I'm not intimidated or afraid. I can invest or start in this company or work with an amazing group of people to bring clean, renewable energy. Or, okay, I'm already working 7 days a week anyways. If we invest and work in this startup, or maybe we can bring it to market. And then again, don't look at the compensation side, even though you have to be practical. Bring something to market, solve a problem, bring it to market,
yeah,
and you can do well. I mean, and I wish I would have reinvented myself 20 years ago, but about 10 years ago, I go, people, Matt, that are much younger than me are just so much smarter. I see some of the problems that people are solving. And so getting a great education, being honest, working hard, and doing big things and not being afraid to try. And if you fail, try not to do it again, are really important tools we mentor people with.
100%. Nice, nice. If you could, like you said, reinventing, if you could have reinvented yourself, if you can just kind of talk about if you can give yourself one piece of advice, let's say when you were my age, what would you tell yourself?
So only when I was much older, I was, you know, less risk adverse, and I used to love when I got to learn things and repeat a familiar habit. And so the only thing constant is change. And so,
Right.
don't be sad when your favorite client or friend leaves this job or office, or don't, shriek back, enjoy meeting the next person that has the title or office, or always don't be afraid to look young, be young, take care of yourself, keep the weight down, get some sleep, don't eat and drink bad all the time, don't drive and do, and drink, don't, just good lessons, because medium or big mistakes are hard to fix when you're younger, and they get harder as you get older.
Right.
And so we try to keep young people out of harm's way, because you're and everybody's our future. That's it. If you don't love to pass on, 20, 30 years from now, I'll be far older and way less ability to do things and solve problems. And so you want your generation and younger than you to step up and take that mantra, because I think we just have to get back to loving each other much more deeply and look at the one thing we have in common, not the nine thing. There's just too much, too much shrillness. I love what social media, I love what digital has done. 8 out of 10 things has been great. But the two things that we have to watch as people talk over each other, it's too easy to DM someone and not talk to them straight or text someone.
Right.
There's a lot of privacy issues. There's a lot of
Yeah.
spamming. There's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of things like that. So, the world has never been better, but we have to take precautions. And one thing is just, I try to get people to be better at speaking. Like I said, I was a gifted public speaker, but I was not as strong a writer. So read more, write more, speak more, and don't be afraid to do what you're good at. People say that doesn't make sense. Like the number one question I get is, Pete, just tell me what to do so I can make money. No, your goal is to solve a problem and work hard and do what you love. Because if you do what you love, you get to work on time or early, you stay later, you meet more people, you have enthusiasm in your voice, you're excited, you love it, and then you never know when you're going to meet someone that changes your life, or you open your minds and like, oh my God, like I used to be a restaurant kid. My parents were Greek, they had a restaurant. And I'm like, oh my God, I never knew this person was like this amazing person in this field or area. And then I never knew that learning wine at a young age was an important thing, because wine and food are a special thing, especially for Balkans. You break bread together, or people,
Yeah.
oh, I'll hear, I can't stand wine, or I can't stand this. And then you're like, oh my God, good wine is fantastic. And it makes this loving experience where when you break bread, it's magical with someone. When you sit down and have a proper meal, and again, don't drink and drive, but when you do something in
Right.
moderation,
Yeah.
it really breaks down barriers, and it really creates a positive experience and a relationship. You don't want a relationship that's 10 minutes long. You want something that you can have for the rest of your life. So if you want to go quick and short, you go alone. If you want to go deep and long and meaningful and historic, you go with people.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Great answer. So you mentioned how you started that consulting firm. Was it in 2002, you said?
Mm-hmm. Full time.
So during 2008, when that whole crisis happened, how did that affect your firm and then the companies that you started out after that?
You know, um, Never gonna embellish. Thank God I was doing government and public policy work, because
Right.
trade associations, NGOs, government, elected officials, those are always constant, and those are
Right.
always in office and working. So we may have made less money, but we still ate and we still kept the lights on. And as a
Right.
matter of fact, we got in some respects busier in certain asset classes, whether it was getting the financial sector out, and I was helping credit unions, or helping the real estate sector out. And I previously worked for two vaunted groups, the Building Industry Association and the California Association of Realtors. And so, you really wanted to help people center it, because the world in the '08 financial crisis was literally crumbling. I mean,
Yeah.
if the United States and the global markets didn't get an injection, I mean, the world was collapsing. And it's pretty
Yeah.
scary how quick it happened.
It sure is. Yeah. 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 So you talk about politics, right? What's your opinion on the current state of the U.S. right now? Kind of just how things are going, elections coming up. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. So we encourage everyone. We're not going to tell you how to vote. We're going to give
Right.
you the accurate information. You must vote. You must not be down on the system, whether you believe the system is bad or good or in between or partially broken or not broken, or I'm sick of everything. You need to register to vote. You need to exercise your right. You got to believe that voting is only going to get easier and better, and it makes a difference, because if a million more people vote, that's a million more votes in the system. You have to look at it that the best days are yet to come. Otherwise, it is such a race to the drain, to the bottom, that you become very negative. You don't love America as much as you did. You don't care. There's always something better, but I challenge people. I know there's problems. If you look at 2023 versus when I was born in the late 60s, 1960s, and if you look at the '70s, we're a far more diverse and in many ways loving and understanding and evolved culture. But again, it's very shrill. And a lot of times it's 40-40, 45-45 on both sides. Only 10% of people are willing. But I just challenge people, because somebody votes an entirely different way or has an entirely different opinion. I came up in that household where they argued all the time. One was for Nixon gold standard, one was for Kennedy. And then I thought that parent was conservative, and that was more moderate and liberal, and that was more moderate conservative. And then they switched, and then person
Yeah.
would be more liberal, and that would be more conservative, because it was really about issues.
Right.
It was
Right.
really about family. But my parents were always taught from their parents to, church, faith, family, start a small business, educate your kids, make sure they're better than you were. And nowadays, I know it's hard and families are really struggling and they're really like, I'm not sure my kids are going to have it better. And it's a fair argument, but we're not going to get there. Housing costs, housing inequality, food insecurity, access to health care, all those issues are big, but we're not going to get there by yelling at each other. If we elect good people that at least talk to each other and
Right.
work on one or two things, I promise you, you can lift this bar and solve huge problems. We had some of the
Mm.
greatest prosperity in this country when President Reagan worked with Tip O'Neill, House Speaker Tip O'Neill, opposite
Yeah.
parties. When President Clinton, a moderate Democrat, worked with Speaker Newt Gingrich,
Right.
a moderate conservative Republican,
Right.
especially by today's standards, he's moderate. Back
Yeah.
then, he was considered very conservative. So
Yeah.
when we work with each other, it really helps. When you lock
Yeah.
up, that's not good. And I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just saying, just try. I get people that scream at me. I'm just so well trained and used to that. I just say, hey, I just usually I own it, even if I didn't do anything. I say, hey, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Oh, it is? Yeah. You want to, sit down and talk about it. You want to do that, and I usually find it helps.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like to mention that whole both party system. Robert, I think, is a great candidate for solving some of those problems. Just kind of my personal insight, what I think. But
I like it. I
let's
like that you
yeah.
like something, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what matters, right? Nowadays, that's what matters. Everything is so polarized that you kind of just have to choose one.
Yeah,
So before we wrap up, one last question, kind of just talking about whether that's with your companies or personally, do you have any future goals that you hold and kind of just what you want to see for the future for yourself?
I do. I have a great partner and wife. We don't have kids, but we have what we feel like 9 kids, all the nieces and nephews. So we want to put a lot of time into them, into their parents and the family. Family means the world to me. I don't have a lot left. I just found some recent Balkan cousins I never knew I
Yeah,
was related to. So I'm
cool.
super excited about that on on my mom's side of the family, which I have less relatives, way less relatives. I'm blessed that my dad's side of the family still has a lot here. I wish I saw them more. I'll try to be a better person and see them. But a lot of what we learn as kids were what our parents did. So I try to get out of that. And if our parents didn't speak to other relatives or didn't spend the time, which is they were bad for that, trying to get better at that, and to do that and reach out. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question?
Just kind of what you see for the future, whether that's, I was mentioning company side of things or family, just everything
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. So besides family, which is real important to me, and I am a proud Cal State Fullerton guy, and my fraternity means the world to me because when my parents were going through so much trouble, it happened when it was started happening when it was halfway towards high school, but definitely in college. So my fraternity, and they had a different connotation in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Right.
I that to have them come back, and I'm proud member of SAE. It's the largest fraternity in the country,
Yeah.
and they are the true gentlemen, and they've morphed into no more pledging. People become instant brothers. It's all about focusing more on academics and athletics and
Mm.
social and career and mentoring people. So between my nieces and nephews and mentoring wherever we can, younger people to be better in their careers, to be better, whoever they love, whoever's their family, and to be more philanthropic. I think America doesn't do a good enough job on teaching philanthropy and teaching to be more giving. If you give, I promise you it will come back. It is not logical, but it is often true. And I try to teach people to be more giving and to just take a leap of faith. And I think that's really important to the mentoring side. I love military and I love public safety professionals, especially peace officers. I think they do an incredibly difficult job. They're definitely not perfect. They're trying to get better. And unless we have security and peace, there's really nothing. There's no equality, diversity, equity, inclusion, equality,
Right.
justice. You have to
Yeah.
have a safe society.
Mm.
So we have to make the professions better, but we have to protect those that protect and serve as well. So I think that's important. I think there's all these good ideas are all done. And then I'll wake up tomorrow and go, God, that's a great idea. What if we did that? So there's always something to fix that's broken. I just
Always. Yeah.
challenge people to be more loving and to be
Yeah.
more tolerant and patient. And when I'm not, sometimes, which is rare, but when I'm not, I have my brothers and sisters and family that will correct me and say, "Hey, man, get back on to what you know best, and you're off track."
Yeah.
And leadership is very hard, and so you're a leader, and so you have to always remember we have to self-correct ourselves, and we have to do it better than anybody else because our job's to help make 100 more people better, man.
Right, right. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Peter. This was really insightful and great. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you to all your listeners and viewers.
All right. Thank you, guys.